Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Convos With Sazón with yours truly, Cata Mejía. Today's guest is Andrea Ventura. She is a petite model and a beauty and fashion influencer. Welcome. How are you?
I am good. I'm so excited to be here, finally.
I am very excited to have you. So those watching and listening actually don't know, but this is quite the full circle moment because you were one of my guests on the first iteration of this podcast back in 2017.
It was 2017?
2017, if you can believe it. Time flies, girl.
What?
I know.
That's crazy. I thought it was maybe 2019.
No, 2017.
Okay, oh well.
I was a senior in college. You were a recent graduate as well at the time.
Yeah.
So much has passed.
Wow,
so much has happened as well. It was virtual at the time, and now we both live in New York. We're in person, which is super exciting. But talking about full circle moment, obviously I've seen your evolution since first virtually meeting you back then.
Yeah.
But for those of who don't know, what is it that you have dedicated your time to, and how has that grown throughout the years?
Oh, that's so crazy. So I started modeling just for fun, and I think it was 2013 maybe, and it was just a hobby. It's so crazy to me. I didn't understand what modeling was at the time. You got paid, you got signed, there were clients, it was a career. I just saw America's Next Top Model growing up. Yes. So to me, it was just the process looks so fun, and getting your hair and makeup done and getting really cool images. That seems cool. I want to do that. Mm-hmm. I could never get that done in El Salvador. It was just it felt like you really needed to have connections to photographers and things like that. So I couldn't do anything in El Salvador. I moved to the U.S. at 18. And then I met a girl, one of my friends, and she just told me how to collaborate with photographers. And she was like, yeah, just reach out to them, tell them you want to collaborate, do a test shoot, and just go from there. And at the time, I was so shy. The thought of reaching out to a complete stranger to me was an insane idea.
It's intimidating for sure, whether you've done it before or you haven't.
Yeah, I was just I don't know. I completely out of my comfort zone. Yeah. But I wanted to do it more than my fear, I guess, that I had at the time. So I just went right into it, and I was like, hey, I'm going to do it. So I started doing it for fun. Time passed by. I do a ton of test shoots. And then people started telling me I should take it seriously. I should sign to an agency. And I am like, no, this is just my hobby. This is just what I do for fun. I'm not taking this seriously. And time passed by a little bit more, and then somebody really talked to me, and they were seriously, go to an agency, get this done. And she pointed me to a specific agency. She told me what to wear. She told me, what to bring and stuff. And I go into the agency. Immediately I get asked, how tall are you? I'm I'm 5'3". Okay, bye. You need to be 5'6" or above. And I'm I'm sorry, can you please just look at my portfolio? Please, I'm begging. And the scout was okay, fine, I'll look at it. And he looks at it, and immediately I could see his face change to, oh my God, let me show this to the other agents. So he shows to the other agents, comes back, and he's we want to sign you. And that's how I got my first agency. And after that, I was hey, I could really do this. And I started doing a little bit more research and taking it more seriously. And every time I looked into how to get signed to an agency, I looked up YouTube videos, because at the time, this was 2015, no, maybe 2016. Mm-hmm. And models Victoria's Secret models and really famous models were already having their YouTube channels. And they were talking about modeling and behind the scenes and how to get signed and stuff. So I was watching their videos, but every single time I came across one of their videos and they talk about how to become a model, every time it would be it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter anything except if you're short. So I couldn't comprehend that could be really a reason for me not to be able to model. Mm-hmm. So I basically didn't take it. I was no, this can't be true. There has to be a way. Mm-hmm. So I kept trying, kept researching, kept looking for other ways. I found different little holes in the path, and I started to get signed to more agencies. I eventually graduated college in 2017, And that's when I decided I wanted to do modeling full time. I was already doing little jobs here and there, and I started to see the income, and I saw the future in it and saw how I could make more eventually. And yeah, I was because at the time when you graduate in college, you remember, obviously, everybody started asking you, like, where are you applying to jobs? What are you going to do for work?
What's next?
What's your resume looking like? And you're meeting with the, I don't know what you called it, like the advisor of college, and they go through it and they tell you how it's looking like. So I was going through all that process in college, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
What did you study? Remind me.
Fashion marketing or fashion merchandising, which is like the same thing.
That's what the merchandising part I remember.
Yeah, fashion merchandising. And I remember my classmates too were already having their work. They already had their job like signed, like ready to go for them after they graduated, and they were so excited. And I was just like, I really don't see myself doing this. I like the thought of me quitting modeling because I had already like a 9-to-5 responsibility made me so sad that I was like, okay, I can't do this. I need to do modeling full time. I don't know how, but I need to do it. I came to my dad with the idea, and he was like, well, as long as you make the same amount of income you would have made with your degree, I'm all about it. So I was like, okay, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to get it done because this is what I want to do. And this was 2017. Fast forward, I am in New York now because this was all in Maryland. So now I'm in New York now. I'm signed to several agencies across the U.S., and I've shot with so many of my dream brands. Like I've shot for Ulta Beauty, I've shot for CeraVe, I've shot for Oribe, Say Beauty, L'Oreal, Audi, so many amazing brands. And during this time when I started in 2017 to figure out how to make this a career, I decided to document it as well. And any tip that I could find, any good thing that maybe somebody else could benefit from, I would post it online because I wanted to become the person I wish I had when I first started modeling. And I wanted to share everything, the good and the bad, the ugly, the opportunities, like everything. So I started doing that at the same time. And now that's how I became also an influencer. And as time passed by, I also wanted to share more about how I do my hair, how I do my makeup, my outfits, things like that. And that's how I became like a petite model and beauty and fashion influencer.
I love that. There is a lot to unpack here.
Yes. It's a long story.
The first thing I want to touch on is the person who helped you prepare for your first meeting with an agency.
Yeah.
And the importance of mentorship. Because not only were you on the receiving end of that, but also by documenting your experience, you are like a virtual mentor for anyone out there who comes across your content. So talk a little bit about mentorship and the role that it's played within your journey. Do you have more mentors? Do you keep in touch? Are there any tips for those looking for one within the industry, regardless of the path that they're on, whether they're just beginning, they're mid-career maybe, or they're a little bit more professional into it?
Yeah, so the girl that helped me at the very beginning, she used to model, so she knew how things were. I can't remember exactly how tall she was, but I think she was maybe like 5'6", 5'7". I don't think she was 5'9". And she had experience, she knew agencies, she knew what it was like, and she saw potential in me. And she was just telling me, go wear all black and wear something that's fitted, print your portfolio, put it in a book, make I believe like a comp card, which is like a little like card of your pictures and your height and everything. And then she was like, just go and shop. And I can't remember exactly what else she told me, but she was so sure that I was gonna get signed. That's why I was so shocked when the scout told me bye immediately after I said my height, because she was so sure I was gonna get signed. So that was like my first push. And after that, I believe her or someone else, I can't remember who it was, also told me, go try New York. And I went and tried New York. This was in 2016. I think I came to see about 9 agencies. Every single one rejected me. But I still thought, like, okay, I still have to go back and keep trying. So that's what happened.
Another thing I want to touch on is all of the elements that you had to prepare to get started, in addition to having a mentor, I'm sure you did your own research, but how has that changed, if at all, in terms of what you need to show, what makes a portfolio, the different types of shots? Does it depend on the type of work that you want to attract as well? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at the time when that happened, I really didn't have like a model portfolio, like a one that you would consider more portfolio. Like it was a portfolio of obviously my modeling pictures, but it was very artistic. It was all over the place. It's not really the type of work that you put on a legit agency's website, but it did show my potential. So I think that's what helped me when I first got signed. But after that, and after getting signed, and after now, when I was already with this new agency, they told me like, okay, we need to do a new model portfolio for you because you need like a different type of images. And that's when I started understanding that there's a different type, there's a specific type of images that needs to go in your model portfolio. Even though an image is so amazing and beautiful and artistic, it might not be what's going to get you jobs. So that's when I started learning, and I think it was just like me trying to find so many information online, a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and trying to understand how I can get where I want to get. That's when I started piecing all the stuff together, and now I understand really well why I need to show an agency, like what type of pictures they're looking for. But it was like throughout time that I was like watching YouTube videos and going through modeling agencies' websites, checking out their models portfolio, checking out their details. That's when I started understanding, okay, this is like, there's a style to this.
When you decided to pursue modeling full time, did you know the type of modeling you wanted to do, or were you open to trying whatever stuck?
So I was open to trying everything, and the cool thing about modeling is that everything's fun, at least for me. There's so many fun things to do. There's commercial work, there's beauty work, there's fashion, there's showroom, there's parts modeling, there's fitness modeling. There's so much you can do depending on what you look like and depending on your abilities and all that type of stuff. So it's not like, oh, I'll do whatever and it's going to be boring or it's going to be not something that I'm passionate about. I think everything is like fun. So yeah, whenever I went to see agencies, I will always tell them like, I want to do everything. So at the end of the day, because of my height, I mostly consider a commercial and beauty model. Every now and then I do a little bit of fashion, like a little bit of e-com, like clothing, modeling. But it's mostly commercial and beauty work because of the height.
Okay. Let's talk about the expectation versus the reality of the model experience that you were hoping for and the one that you've had thus far. In addition to the first shock, right, of coming to your first agency and being hit with almost an automatic no until they gave you an opportunity, how does your experience compare to the expectation that you had? And what has surprised you the most?
So yeah, when I first went to see that agency, and even the agencies I came to see later here in New York, I was so sure. I was like, of course they're gonna say yes. Of course they're gonna, like, somebody's gonna sign me. And it's funny because it's not just me thinking that way. All my friends, my family, everybody was so sure that it was obviously gonna happen. So it was not just me thinking that. And yeah, I got shut down so many times, and it's crazy because it's not in a very smooth way. Like, you literally are so excited. You walk in. Sometimes you don't even make it through after, like, the front desk. Like, I remember one time there was this one agency that is one of those agencies, like, in a building where the elevator opens and you're right, like, inside of the
just like
office.
The movies.
Yeah. So this elevator opened up. I take maybe like one step. The front desk lady is right there. She stands up. She looks at me and she's like, "You're too short. Bye." Like, it's so crazy that so many times you don't even have the chance to speak. You can't, because with that, like, first agency, that first story I shared, I was able to just say like, "Hey, can you please look at my portfolio?" But there's so many times that you can't even speak. They don't let you. It's an automatic no. Like, "Oh, you're too short." Like, no, like, nobody's going to see you. Nobody cares. And I think, yeah, that was a crazy expectation versus reality moment for sure. you in the modeling industry, it's insane the amount of rejection that you get. It's once you're even, you think maybe like, oh, once I get signed, like everything's gonna get better. But no, once you're signed, yeah, obviously you get opportunities, you started working and everything, but the amount of rejection you get is almost daily. And it gets to the point that you really cannot attach yourself to all the castings you do. You need to let them go. You need to do your best and then let them go. Because if not, you're going to get your heart broken every single day. You're going to be sad. And you're not going to be able to enjoy the journey.
When you were first talking about how you got into the industry, you made it very clear through the examples that you used of the importance of advocating for yourself because you know what you bring to the table, because you saw your height as a welcomed challenge as opposed to being like, okay, like, definitivamente no soy demasiado alta, o no soy lo suficientemente alta, y hasta acá llegué, you know? In what instances, after having the experience that you've had, do you decide, let me push a little bit and let me advocate for myself versus the automatic no's? You just kind of take it and be like, okay, no era para mí, we're moving on.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always advocated for myself. I think I always push myself, and I always, there's so many examples, but I would say, for example, whenever I apply to agencies and they say you have to be 5'9" or taller, I know I'm 5'3", and I know it's probably going to be a no, but I still apply anyways because there's a tiny, tiny chance that they might look at me and think like, well, actually her height doesn't matter, because it has happened. It's true. So I think I've always done it throughout my career. Obviously, there are moments that I'm not gonna fight with an agent. Like that's something that I think people need to understand. Like, you shouldn't fight with an agent. You should always stay professional, because maybe today is a no, but tomorrow will be a yes, and you don't want to risk your chances of getting that yes in the future by getting upset or getting angry with an agent's response. Like, they're saying the best that they think at the time. And yeah, it all depends on, I think, on the situation and how I feel at the times. For example, years later, I was talking to an agency. I really want to be signed to them. They were kind of like, oh, I don't know. And I told them, like, look, let me show you what I've done so far. Let me show you, like, all the jobs I've done. Like, there's this one, and there's this one, there's this one. And that's when they were like, oh, wait, okay, fine, yeah, like, we'll sign you. So it depends on the situation, depends how the conversation is going. That's when I'll push maybe a little bit to show what I've done. But yeah, it all depends on the situation. But in general, I've always advocated for myself.
As you should. I love that. Why do you think height is so important? Why is there such an emphasis within the context of the modeling industry of being a certain height as a minimum?
Yeah. So I actually had this question because I attended, I don't know if you know supermodel Coco Rocha. So I attended her modeling camp, and she answered this question actually in her camp. I recorded it and I posted it on my TikTok and my Instagram. I think it might be also on my YouTube. I can't remember the entire answer, but I do remember one part that it was like, designers, when they do their final round of the models on like a runway show, they really like them all looking uniform. So they don't really like if you could see like the short and the tall. They really like to see like uniform all across, like that entire like last lap that they do. And that was basically it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because based on what you're telling me, you're not that's not to say you never will, but your focus isn't runway modeling. So
yeah,
that's so interesting to me that still applies, or it seems to have been applied across the board.
Yeah, it trickles down, and it is crazy. And I was just talking to this with one of my friends. So she's also a model. She's 5'8.5".
And the half, I'm sure, is important.
Yeah. But it's so funny because she's always complaining about jeans being too short on her, or long sleeve shirts being too short on her. So it's so crazy because the clothes is not even made for her, but she's supposed to be like the height to do fashion, but the clothes are not even made for her. And usually, from what I understand, when models do e-com, which is like when you go on a website and you see all the outfits and everything, usually models are around 5'7". So it's just like it's so crazy. There's so much inconsistency. Also, there's so many times designers end up not caring about the height, and they will still put a model that's shorter on their runway, and it's fine. So I really, it's just, I don't know. It's just so weird.
Do you think times are changing? Because I ask for a lot of reasons, but the main one being, I know that one of the main conversation topics in recent years within the context of fashion and modeling is body positivity, right?
Yeah.
And because of the pushback from the public, a lot of things have changed. We now see plus models on the runway, or we see inclusive photography when it comes to modeling in general. Do you think, maybe to a different extent, that the industry will change when it comes to this height standard as well? Because the examples that you shared seem to point to the path that there may be a progress forward, you know?
Yeah, I think that way. I could be maybe just like super hopeful and a very positive person, but I see it's maybe like a little bit, but I do see models that are 5'7" walking the runway, and it's, and maybe could be like just a few, but they're still there, you know, and they're constantly getting hired. So I think there's definitely a possibility for it to continue to change. I think it's also about keep talking about it on social media and the public, and the same way I think like we see more like plus size models now, I think it's the same way we could see more petite models. And I think even like in the agency side, even maybe like more boutique agencies, I think they've also changed. I think they're becoming more open to signing petite models. Like they don't really mind, like they're working, they're making money, that's what matters at the end. So I do think like eventually things can change for the better. It's just a matter of being patient.
Yeah, of course. And also representation matters. So you are doing the work to kind of pave the way for others who want to follow in your footsteps. You know? So proud of you for that. I do want to go back to what I had planted earlier of body positivity, right? It's a huge conversation topic, even still to this day.
Yeah.
What has your experience been on the modeling side with that big topic? Have you seen a change, the change that we see on the outside? Do you think there's still work that needs to be done?
So because I don't work super in fashion, I don't think I can talk that much about like how it is and stuff. Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the fact that every now and then I do get hired to model clothing, that to me shows that, oh, height obviously doesn't matter. Like they just like my look, they just like my style, they just like the way I model. And obviously they didn't mind when they saw, oh, she's 5'3", she's gonna be a little short on the clothes thing. Actually, one of my friends, she did this big campaign for Abercrombie, and she's 5'4", and she told me, yeah, they just like hem my pants, which is so easy. And I remember too, I did this shoot for this clothing brand, and they had I don't know how you say it in English, a costurera.
A tailor.
Yeah, a tailor. And they just hem my pants. It's such an easy fix, you know? And it was in a few minutes that they fix like my pants, and I model for them. So that's the body positivity that I've seen on my side in terms of fashion.
Yeah. One of the things that I've loved about following your journey, in addition to seeing the evolution, right, is how transparent you are with every aspect, you know, as you were mentioning earlier, the good, the bad, the difficult days, what you do in the life, how you got ready, and most recently, your experience with cosmetic surgeries. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so bold, you know, and I think it's so important because similarly to our society's obsession with perfection, when it comes to these types of procedures, there always seems to be like a hush-hush, like, yes, I did it, but the world can't know, you know? And so there's a bit of shame from the outside looking in that is attached to it. So share your experience with that.
Yeah. So I have always, like you said, been very transparent, very honest. I, you know, grew up with, maybe not grew up, but I was already like late teens, early 20s with social media, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like comparing myself to other girls on social media and thinking like, oh, why I don't look this way and stuff. And then I found out about Facetune, and I found out so many people were using Facetune, and that really like showed me like, oh, like this is what I'm looking is not real. And in terms of plastic surgery, I saw how people would find out maybe celebrities had plastic surgery and they lied about, because the thing is like lying about it. Like to me, that's like the problem. And I would see posts about people finding out so-and-so had plastic surgery and they lied about it. And to me, I did understand that. I was like, why would you lie about it? It looks so bad. And when it came to me making the decision of getting plastic surgery, I thought like, I have to tell everyone. Everybody needs to know. If you look at me and you think whatever you think about me, you need to know. Like I pay for like my boob job, you know, I got my nose fixed, and I did it, you know. And I was nervous, not gonna lie, I was nervous. People were gonna be mad at me. I was nervous of people, I don't know, any type of negative comment about it. But I think overall people took it like, they liked that I shared it, and I like sharing it, honestly. Like now that like after the first post and seeing people's reaction, and also so many of my like girlfriends that I knew came to talk to me about it, and I had no idea. There were so many that already had them done, or they were thinking of getting them done. And I was like, oh, because I've never talked about it. It was not something.
It's a bit of a taboo topic.
Yeah. I've never like talked about it or thought about it, but it was just so crazy. People were like, how many did you get done? I'm thinking about getting it done too. And like, where did you get it? And I was like, oh, this is so crazy. I had no idea. So many were so interested. But yeah, I think now it's more of a fun topic to talk about, I feel like, because I see other girls sharing theirs, and I love it. I love when they share. And whenever they share, it makes me want to keep sharing as well. I'm like, oh, you know what? I should like revisit this topic and talk about it, maybe give it like a little update. But yeah, I think it's fun, and I think at the end of the day, it's just better to be honest and transparent. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't be. Yeah.
100%, because at the end of the day, you're taking ownership of a decision that you made for yourself. And you're taking away the perceived shame that comes along with it. You're owning it, like I mentioned earlier. What was the motivation for the surgeries that you decided to have?
So first things, it was health issues. So I had this like little accident when I was a kid, and I got my septum deviated, and my turbinates, I don't know, they were messed up.
Okay.
And it's so crazy because I didn't realize, because this happened when I was very young. So I didn't even realize the impact it had on me until, it's so funny, I saw a TikTok of someone saying, if you move your nose like a certain way and you see I think it's your cartilage more on one side than the other side, it means like you have a deviated septum. And I did it, and I was like, oh yeah, like I was like, I have a deviated septum, I can see it. But that was it. I didn't think anything else of it. And I think a year later, maybe, I saw another TikTok video from a doctor, and he said, if you have a deviated septum, you probably have breathing issues. And I was like, wait, maybe I do. And I started like really recording myself on like my notes app when I really like felt like maybe I can't really breathe well. And I think some people don't understand this, because they're like, how could you not tell you're not breathing well? Well, I've been not breathing well like
your whole life.
Yeah.
Or since the accident.
Yeah, like I was like 4 when it happened. Like I can't remember how I was breathing before 4. So I started really like documenting, because I really need to make sure for myself like I wasn't crazy, I wasn't making this up. And when I finally figured out like, okay, do you think I have an issue? I talked to my dad about it, because my dad's a doctor, and he's not pro surgery because there's always risk and stuff like that. So he was like, you know, like if it's not really affecting your life that much, I don't think you should do it. But he was like, but I don't know how bad it is. I'm just like telling you, like if it's not super bad, like you shouldn't even do it. And I talked about it with someone else, who actually they broke their nose, and he told me, he was like, no, do it. You have no idea. It was day and night after I got my surgery, and the way I could breathe again, like, you have to do it. So I was okay, I think I should do it. Anyways, you have to go see a doctor anyways to confirm the diagnosis. Like, I'm not making this up, you know? Mm-hmm. So I went to see a doctor. The doctor confirmed. He looked at me. He was like, it's really bad. Because I thought it was bad. I didn't think it was, like, really bad.
Right. And it's also when you self-diagnose versus when you have a professional tell you, oh, no. Like, you need to get it taken care of.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And when he was, like, you know, checking me and everything, he was like, wait, like, did you have an injury when you were, like, little? And I was like, well, I remember, like, this and this happened. And he was like, oh, because that means that you basically told me my nose grew deformed. And when he said that, I was like, okay, because I had been, like, dabbling if I wanted to get the aesthetic part of it or not. And when he said that, I was like, oh, never mind, we're doing the aesthetic part. If my nose is not even, like, how it was supposed to be, let's just do it. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided to do that. And then when I had already had my surgery and everything, like the date of it and everything, 2 women in my family, they were talking to me and they said, like, oh, you should also get your boobs done. And I was like, me? No. Like, what? Because I really never thought about it. I love boobies, not gonna lie. I do love them. And I love how they look and clothing and everything. Like, I'm sorry, I really
love
do.
it. Let's embrace our womanhood. I'm right there with you.
No, they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous, you know. And I was never insecure about my boobies. Like, I was on AA probably, and it was like whatever, you know. But I like them, you know. They're nice. And yeah, they were telling me, like, you should get them done. Like, you should take advantage of the fact that you're already gonna be under.
Ya entraron en gastos, ya.
Yeah, they were like, it's going to be cheaper for you. You're already going to be in there. It's going to be the same amount of recovery time. Like, just do it, you know? And I was like, oh, my God, maybe.
That sounds like the little angel and devil on the shoulder. Like, them being like, you got this.
Exactly. And I was like, and I talked to the surgeon because, you know, I didn't know much about breast augmentation. I know some girls that always thought about it and they look videos and stuff like that. I had no idea how the process was, like nothing about it. And I talked to the doctor and I told him my concerns about the stuff I've heard on social media and things like that. And he was like, no, you're going to be fine. Like, it's just like an extra, when he said it was just an extra hour of surgery and like a little bit more money, I was like, okay, I should do it. So that's when I decided to do it. And after I decided to do all of this stuff, I was like really nervous. I was like, I knew I had to share on social media. Mm-hmm. There was no way, because some people were telling me, don't say anything. Like, you're not even going to look that different. Like, don't say anything. People are not even going to notice. And I was just like, no, I have to share it. And I think it's also a fun topic too. Mm-hmm. Like, I was nervous about sharing it, but I also thought it was a fun topic. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Like, so I recorded the journey of it.
I remember.
And I can't remember exactly when I decided to release it. I think right before the surgery, right after the surgery, I was like, okay, like, this is going to go live now. And that's how it happened.
When you made the decision, right, mm-hmm. to incorporate social media more into your life and your career, was there something that influenced that? Was there a specific turning point? And I say that because you talk about, you know, modeling being your start, right? Mm-hmm. And then kind of like the influencer part making its way into your day-to-day. So talk about the start of that, and then also how do you balance both?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly when, but I would see like other influencers that I love talk about their personal life and mm-hmm. about their struggles and about their day-to-day life and the makeup they like and all that stuff. And I always thought that was so fun. Like, every time I would see like a fun vlog or a video of them talking about their life, I would imagine myself doing it. And that's how I basically started to incorporate more of my personal mm-hmm. life. The beginning was very like modeling centered. But as time has gone by, I do want to, even now, I still want to open up more. But it is a little scary.
For sure. You're being even more vulnerable.
Yeah. So it's, I'm still like figuring out like the middle ground and how much I want to share. Maybe not about this or whatever. But in general, I think it's so fun. Like, I see my favorite influencers talk about their personal lives or stuff that happens to them, random stories. Some of them are great storytellers too. So it can be like literally whatever. And it's so fun. So whenever I see those videos, I'm like, I really want to share more.
You know, you mentioned going back to your surgery, you mentioned kind of a duty, right? You didn't say the word duty, but you kind of made it seem that way, of being honest and sharing and using your platform, right, as a way to connect with others. Do you think that incorporating social media into your day-to-day, right, and wanting to share even more has held you accountable indirectly in terms of being honest and sharing what you wish you would have known earlier?
Yeah. So in general, I'm a very honest person, and I think that's just part of my personality. And it's just I'm a type of person that I really don't like. I can't remember how's the saying, like, no hagas lo que no quieren que te hagan a ti.
Yeah, like do unto others what you would want done to you.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever I would see like people lying about their plastic surgery or lying about using Facetune, it never sit well with me. I never liked that feeling. I never like how could you deny this? Like, I can see, like, you did it, like, there's proof. And just with that, I was just like, I don't like that. Like, I like honesty, and I don't see how you could not do it. That's the way I think. Like, I don't understand.
One of my favorite things that you have covered on social media is not only how to pose, because I think, I don't know, like, I have a go-to pose, and I'm sure it's something that you picked up with time, right? And the comfortability in front of the camera, the whole triangle theory. I vividly remember, like, cierra los ojos y estar viendo tus fotos with the triangle, like, anywho, I still to this day, I'm like, make a triangle. How did you pick those tips up in addition to experience? I mean, have you seen an evolution in your pictures from when you first started to now? And how does that translate to when you're in front of a camera, whether it's professional or personal? Let's say you're on a trip with your family or something. Are you automatically conditioned to have certain poses? Like, ya te viene natural?
Yeah. So it's so crazy, you know, because I was looking back at my very old, like, early modeling career, like, before, like, when I was telling you, like, this is not a real portfolio, this is just, like, fun pictures. This is not me, like, I don't know how you say it in English, tirándome flores, but they were so good. Like, the poses were so good. And I was like, okay, I can see now why people were so supportive of me doing this for real, because they were so good. But anyways, I'm a very visual person, and I have photographic memory. So what I did when I first started is that I would look at other models' pictures, and I will take screenshots, or I will take, like, a mental screenshot. And whenever I was, like, in front of the camera, I would think about those poses, and I will, like, do them. So obviously, the more I did it, the more poses I got in my library in my head. And I can't remember how I got into the triangle thing, to be honest. I literally cannot remember how that came to be a thing. But since then, I'm always thinking about it. Like, every single time, like, especially when it's a casual photo. Actually, even with modeling. But now that, you know, people are taking photos, like, all the time. Like, we just took a photo, like, a while ago. I'm like, something needs to have a triangle. There has to be some space between, like, my body and my arms, or, like, my legs. Like there has to be something there. So, with time, obviously, like, I've gotten better, and I think I have more variety of poses, and maybe I get more creative, but that's, like, the thing about modeling. Modeling is a talent, you know? The same way, like, somebody has a talent to sing, somebody has a talent to speak, you know? Modeling is a talent. So it's very clear to me that I've always had the talent to model, and, you know, it's just, I guess, flourish with time and practice.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's give listeners and also those watching a bit of a cheat sheet. Like, if you could give your top tips for what makes a great picture,
okay,
what would you say? So, triangle theory, and explain what that is.
Okay, so basically, triangles make a photo more interesting to the eye. there's like, you can ask ChatGPT like why it is. It gives you like 100 reasons why like triangles are so amazing in a photo. But one of the things that makes a triangle so much better for like a photo is that it separates your body, and basically you don't look like one blob put together. There's like a little bit of space, so you can see maybe like a little bit of your waist, or you can see like more of your legs and stuff. So it's such a great tip. And basically a triangle is that flat to the camera you can see the shape of the triangle. I don't know if like this is like flat to my camera, but maybe there's a triangle right here happening, you know, or like here, you know, there's like a triangle happening right here. So that's like the triangle thing. So next time you take a photo, maybe you just spread your feet apart, or maybe you just like put your hand on your hair, or you put it like on your pocket, and that's you have a triangle. At least one, I would say, like that will be good. You can have more, but at least one.
Okay.
Then the other thing is lighting. Lighting can make or break your photo, and it's so important, I think, for people to understand the importance of lighting, because there's so many times that you maybe look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, I look so gorgeous today. I look so good. And you're like, I can't wait to get a picture taken. And then you go wherever you're supposed to go. You ask for a photo and you're like, oh, I look so ugly. You know, if that has ever happened to you, first of all, it was probably really bad lighting. If you have really bad lighting, you're going to look bad. Like, it's not you, it's the lighting. And then the other thing is the angle of the camera. If you have the wrong angle of the camera, you're not going to look great. Like the lighting and the angle of the camera has to be flattering, and then your pose has to be flatter. So for you to look great. So there's like these three things. Basically, I would say, like the lighting, the posing, and the camera angle.
What's the recommended angle?
It depends.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It depends. For me, usually, for example, like overhead and down, I hate that angle because it makes you look short.
Yep.
And like shrunken. Usually I prefer like down and like a little bit like up, like this. That's like, or just straight on, like
eye level,
or like even like chest level. I think that's like very flattering. But this thing, I hate it.
Okay, noted. Everyone at home, make notes as well.
Yeah.
Describe a day in the life. I know that you've worked with a handful of brands, and so a day maybe looks different, but a typical day, if you could define it and describe it, how would it be?
Yeah. Oh, it's hard because I feel like my days are never the same. It always varies. If it's nothing crazy, if I don't have a shoot or anything wild, like brands and stuff, maybe, you know, I'll wake up, I'll have breakfast. I did a course on productivity, and now I schedule my days by block time, like my entire day from waking up until I go to bed. It's like all scheduled by times. That's how I made it here on time.
I'm honored.
So I have breakfast, and if I sometimes I plan my day the night before. If I didn't plan the night before, I plan it after or before eating breakfast. And if I have something specific going on that day, like I'll plan around that specific thing. But yeah, I usually start with computer work, and that might be like checking my emails, reading a contract. You know, I do everything myself, so maybe I go on QuickBooks and I do like accountability. Then maybe I get some emails for like self-tapes, which are like online castings. So you take your own photos and your own videos, and then you send it to the casting director. Instead of going in to a place, you do it by yourself at home. So sometimes I get 2-3 castings a day. So then I have to, you know, do my hair, makeup, do the whole setup with the camera, the microphone, everything, record, take my pictures, then edit the video, crop the photos, whatever, send it to the casting director. And that takes a while. And then maybe I have lunch, and then maybe I continue to do more like computer work. Maybe I have ideas to post on social media, so I block a time to record content. And after that, I get ready to go to the gym. And after that, it's just, you know, dinner, relax, maybe do a little bit of, if I have a little extra thing that I have to do for work, maybe I'll do it. But after going to the gym, like I try to like relax and then until the next day.
What would people be surprised to know about what it takes to be a model full time?
I think there's so many things. We talk about rejection. I think like just taking a rejection every single day. I think the other thing would be that success doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. There's so many successful models out there that they don't have the career they have right now, like from yesterday. Like there's so many models that work really hard for 5-10 years even. And that's now that you see them on the runway, you see them on the ads, you know about them. But it's a very, like any other career, it's a very long career. And it's also common for models to change agencies as well. Like sometimes you think like, oh, once I get this one agency, like my life is set, like I'm done, like I reached like my goal and I can relax and be a model. There's so many models that sign to agencies and they change like in a year, 2-3 years, and their career needs to shift, needs to change, they need to rebrand or something. So it's a very long process. That's why you have to be passionate about it. That's why it cannot be like, oh, like, yeah, I want to be a model. You know, like you really need to like love it and want it, because if not, you're going to hate it.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to what your dad said when you turned to him and you were like, listen, I've graduated. I want to dedicate myself to modeling full time. How did you eventually crack the code on making it sustainable enough to live off of it, especially at the beginning? Like, is there a number of campaigns that you have to do a month to kind of make ends meet, or how did you figure that out?
So it's hard. It's hard. And basically I was just trying to figure out how I could get jobs. And the thing with modeling is not the number of campaigns you're doing, is how much you're getting paid per campaign. So with modeling, the jobs don't pay the same. Like one job pays like a little bit, another one pays a lot. So it all depends. And basically I was just like trying my hardest to get any job that I could at the time. And even if it didn't pay that much, like I will just do it just to get my foot in the door. So that's what I was doing at the beginning, like anything, like I'll do it. And eventually once I got signed to more agencies and once I got myself more established as a model, that's when jobs that also paid more started coming in more often my way. And that's how I was able to like make that like full-time income that my dad was like telling me.
Totally. Yeah. When it comes to the decision-making aspect of everything that you do on your own, as you mentioned, what do you look for when considering to accept a contract or not? Are there some non-negotiables for you based on maybe lived experiences that you now know it's not for you? Yeah.
I mean, right now, all the jobs I do go through my agencies. Like, I stopped looking for jobs on my own. I just let them take care of it. So I know whatever they send to me will be a good job. It's not going to be anything sketchy or anything that I, need to, like, be careful of. Honestly, it comes down more to how much it pays, because some jobs maybe require some traveling, for example, or basically, I don't think it's worth it for me. Maybe the job is fun and everything, but because of my time and other things that I have going on, maybe like this is not the right opportunity for me right now. So yeah, it all depends. But whatever my agent sent to me, I know it's legit and it's like fine. Yeah, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it all depends on like, basically I've set a minimum for me. And if that job that they sent to me doesn't have that minimum that I set for myself, because models have their minimum
in terms of like monetary amount?
Yeah. So like models have their minimum. Like once you're an established model, you know your minimum. You know what you're gonna take or you're not gonna take. It's a business. And your time is worth it. So if a job comes my way, actually I had to decline a job this morning. I was like, because it's a really fun brand. But money-wise, it didn't meet my minimum. So I had to tell my agent, like, no, I'm going to have to pass this time. Yeah.
Do you have a ritual or a routine of sorts when you prepare for a shoot? Like, are there steps that you follow, regardless of what type of shoot it is, for yourself to kind of be prepared and be in the zone?
Yeah. So I used to like always work out, for example, before a shoot, but sometimes I'm too busy. I can't do it, and it's fine. Like, I don't really mind about that. But it's mostly more like beauty ritual that I do. So for example, I like to do a hair mask like the day before. I like to do like, you know, those like little like racers for like peach fuzz. I like to do that. If I have a face mask, I'll do like a face mask. If I have time, I'll exfoliate. I'll do gua sha, like my face, my body. Like I do like beauty stuff, but yeah, I try to look as like as polished as I can. You know, I also like maybe like how you say this? Tweeze my eyebrows. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Love that. Taking notes, all of that. When it comes to maybe the hardships that come with the industry that you're in and the public nature of it, you know, you already mentioned rejection and being able to be okay with it because it's part of the process. What are other hardships that you don't think are talked about enough that you think are important to discuss?
I think maybe being with an agency that's not right for you. I think that's really hard. I think being trapped in a contract, it can be very devastating because it is your livelihood. And if you are having some sort of issues with the agency, with the agents, and they tell you like you're bound with a you're bound with a contract and you can't leave, like that is really hard. That's really stressful. I know many model stories that they are basically trapped in their contracts and they want to leave, and for some reason the agency doesn't want to let them go. And it's crazy to hear these stories too, because it's not like, oh, we don't want to let you go, like we appreciate you so much, like here's more jobs for you. No, like some of these stories are like, no, you can't leave, and also we're not going to give you jobs, you're trapped. And the crazy thing is that some of these contracts are exclusive, so that means you cannot go to another agency, you cannot go get jobs on yourself. You're literally trapped in this contracts. So I think that's the other hard part that models go through, and it's like a quiet thing because who are you gonna tell?
Well, within the context of contracts, are there red flags that people should look out for early on, or tall tale signs before they actually sign, that they can look out for?
Yeah, actually on my podcast I interviewed a fashion and model lawyer, and we talked all about this. Right now I'm in blank, I can't remember specifically like something.
We'll send everyone over to your podcast.
But I think that it's definitely important. I mean, I know not everybody can afford a lawyer, but she was telling me like just have them ask me, like this specific lawyer, she was just telling me just have them ask, like whoever was like watching the episode, just ask and we'll see what we can do, and like maybe I can make a price for you. But yeah, right now I'm blanking on that.
It's okay. No worries.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you have to detach yourself from castings, otherwise it's going to break your heart. Similarly, off camera, you mentioned to me when we were kind of planning the shoot that you also have to actively detach yourself from shoots. Why is that the case?
So when I said that, it was the same thing with like castings. Like, so basically, like it's just you do so many, and some of them are super exciting because it's like one of my dream brands, or the pay so well, or the exposure is gonna be so big, and literally so many times I've gotten excited and I'm thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get it, I'm so gonna get it, and then I get an email from my agent saying like, oh, nope, not this time, like next time, you know. And it just happens so many times, and I remember talking about it on my social media, and other more experienced models will reply to my stories and tell me like, you need to detach yourself from this, like you're gonna have a really bad time and you continue to like get really emotionally like attached to like all these opportunities that are coming your way. Like you really need to like, this is work and you did it, and move on. So I think just with more experience and seeing it happen more and more often, that's when I was like, oh, like I can't really think about this like that much. Like I'll do my best and then let it be.
When it comes to shoots themselves, so you've gotten the job, you've already shot, is there a chance, or has it happened to you, that the content isn't released?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not all the time, but very often. Yeah.
Please tell me more. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I remember when I first started doing like a first couple of jobs, I was so excited to see like the final product. I will be emailing my agent and be like, where can I see it? And they're so used to it, obviously, and they will tell me like, oh, like just look on the website, or I don't know, basically like very vague answer, because they also don't, you will think that your agents get the photos too. They don't get the photos. You have the same information they have, which is nothing. And maybe if the client reaches out to them and they're like, hey, if like Andrea wants to see her work, like here it is. If you get that, then my agent will like send it to me and be like, hey, like the client sent this. But so many times they also don't get anything. So you asking them, you're not gonna get anything either. And other times people tell me like, oh, like just like become friends with like the producer, and like you'll get like the images, and maybe I get their contact information and I reach out to them like later on, and they also give me a vague answer, and they're like, oh, they should be on the website, and you go on the website, they're not there. So at this moment in my career, I just let it go too.
Okay.
And it's more funny to me now whenever other people see me. You saw me.
Yes, when I was touring the studio, actually, months and months ago, I turned the corner and I see your face, and I'm like, oh my, it was for some immigration lawyer or information or something. I'm like, oh my God, yo la conozco.
Yeah, so to me, it's so funny whenever people find me and they send it to me. And that's maybe the majority of times that I find my work is when other people see me and they send it to me. And I'm like, oh, that's out. You know, because there's so many times that they don't release the things, or maybe they release them in a way that you can't find them. Yeah. Like I have no idea.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so there's so many shoots I've been so excited to see, and I never see them.
As you look back at your experience so far, what is a shoot experience or a campaign or even a brand that sticks out as what a great experience, you had so much fun, and what made it so positive? Yeah.
So actually, whenever I talk about this, I talk about my shoot for CeraVe, because it's not, I mean, it was a fun shoot and everything, but it was because it was the first time I was ever not like super nervous at a casting. So when I first started like this whole career in like 2017, I started taking it seriously. I started going in-person castings, but it wasn't all the time because I wasn't here in New York, and usually here in New York is where they do the in-person castings. And every single time I would go to in-person casting, like my hands were shaking, my voice was shaking, I couldn't speak. They will ask me, they always ask you questions about personality, like what do you like to do for fun, or like things like that. I never knew what to say. I always felt like I was messing up, and like I was just so mad at myself. Like, how could you be this nervous? Like, this is like, why are you nervous? Anyways, I was trying so hard not to be nervous, and finally I did the CeraVe casting, and I was a little nervous, but I wasn't super nervous, and I finally felt confident in that casting, and I ended up booking it. So that to me was like, oh, I finally did it. Like, I finally got it.
Validation.
Like, yeah. And the shoot itself was really fun. And I don't know if you ever seen the, I can't remember the brand right now, but they like splash water. Like they're doing like, they're washing their face with like splash water. Yes. So I did that. I splashed water on myself, and it was like, it does not look like on camera. Like I got all myself like wet and everything, and it was cold water too. And I also only got to do 2 shots of it, and they ended up not using it because I'm assuming maybe something was out of focus or whatever. You know, 2 shots is not enough to get like the shot. So but I thought like the entire shoot was really fun. I was so happy to be in New York and shooting for CeraVe, and you know, like, because my one of my favorite type of shoots to do was beauty. I was just so happy. New York, beauty, you know, in-person casting. I booked it, and I'm splashing water on my face.
We'll get to New York in a second, but I want to talk about what's a dream brand that you haven't worked with yet that we're going to speak into the universe and hopefully attract some collaboration. Who would be on that list?
Oh my God, Sephora.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. I would love a Sephora shoot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, dedos cruzados, all the positivity, you're going to get that. Circling back to New York. You arrived around the same time that I did back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
It's so crazy.
I'm telling you, the universe does crazy things.
Okay.
And you were telling me that you were very nervous about moving. And that sticks out as one of your most nerve-wracking moments of your career because you moved here for your career. Yeah. So talk about that.
Yeah, so basically, the idea of moving to New York was always there. Mm-hmm. And it was mostly my dad that he was like, oh, obviously, you're going to eventually move to New York. Like, your career is obviously going to flourish and you're going to end up there. Like, to him, it was like a given. Mm-hmm. To me, it was like, yeah, but like, am I really going to do that? I don't know. And, you know, I'm from El Salvador. I'm Latina.
Latinas.
And in our culture, you don't really move out of home until you get married. Mm-hmm. Like that's just how it is, you know. So to me, the thought of moving out, paying rent was just so crazy. Like I knew I had to do it, but doing it now in that moment, I was like, I don't know. Like this is so crazy. This is so nerve-wracking, and New York is so expensive. So I remember I was talking to someone and I was telling them like, hey, I do want to do it, but I mean, it's so expensive. Like, I don't know. And she said, oh, with that mentality, you're never going to do it. And I was like, oh, she's right. And that clicked for me. I was like, she's so right. So after that, I really started researching on like apartments, how to get one, watching YouTube videos. And the crazy thing to me now looking back is that so many things that I've been afraid of doing is because I lacked information. The actual thing might not be that crazy or that complicated or that like frightening. Mm-hmm. It's just because you don't know how it is and you have all these like fears in your head that you think it's gonna be like so bad. Mm-hmm. But in reality, like no, it's not that crazy, you know. So I watched the videos and stuff and I was like, oh, I can do this. Like, you know, I mean, I'm still scared, right? But I can do this. So I started taking like little steps into looking for apartments and talking to other people that lived here and watching YouTube videos and figuring out like what type of documents you needed to like apply to an apartment and like how can they say yes to you. And I prepared myself and finally got an apartment and everything and I moved. But yeah, I was so scared. I was so scared. I was like, I'm going to end up in the streets.
Oh my gosh. God forbid. How has your experience in New York compared to what you envisioned before you got here?
So it's funny because I never wanted to move. Like basically for me it was more like a push that I had to because of modeling, not that I'm dying to be in like New York. Because every single time, so here's the thing. Every single time I will come to New York for a modeling job or a casting, I will go basically Times Square area. So I was like, this is so hectic, this is so dirty, I don't understand how people want to live here, like I don't see myself living here, like this is a lot, like I can't. And that's for a really long time I basically hated New York. I was like, I don't see the appeal.
Look at you now.
I don't see the appeal. And after I think there was a moment, I think it was in 2016, I actually ended up seeing like Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and I was like, oh, this is actually nice, you know? And then I started seeing like other neighborhoods and I was like, oh, this is calm. This is not crazy like Times Square. And that's when I was like, okay, I can see it, you know, I can see it. But yeah, now that I live here, I'm like, oh, I get it. This is fun. There's so many things to do. It's so easy to get on the subway and get wherever in the city. Like I don't have to like drive, look for parking, any of that. And yeah, I don't know, I think it's so fun. And now that I'm also doing the influencer side of my job, there's so many events going on in the city like all the time and I can attend all of them because I'm here, you know. If I was in Maryland, I wouldn't be able to. So yeah, it's fun.
I love that. I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, which is, yes, modeling is glamorous and it's fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. And there are many aspects that you've already shared that people don't think about. Have you had any experience when you meet people and you introduce yourself, right? And you're like, oh, I'm Andrea Ventura, influencer, model. Do you sense a difference in how you're treated for better or for worse as a result? Like, have you ever had a moment in which maybe you're not taking as seriously as you would hope because of the job that you do?
Yeah.
Or on the flip side, people treat you better as a result.
So no, I've never seen a change in people's behavior depending on like what I do. I think it's just funny to me sometimes when I say like I'm a model, they say like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Nice. I think that's like always funny, and obviously I appreciate it, like it's a compliment. But yeah, other than that, no, I don't think maybe I don't know if they're thinking something negative or not, but to me they feel positive. They feel like the same way. Yeah. And I do think like generally there might be some people that see models and they're like, they think they're airheads, or it's an easy career and things like that. And that's when I think about those people, I'm like, yeah, like you don't know what you're talking about. Like it's really hard. Yeah. And it's so crazy that there's this like stereotype, but so many of my close friends that are models are so smart, and they have degrees, and they're incredible, intelligent, like human beings. So it's funny that that's like the stereotype, but in reality, like no, like very like this is not to like tirarme flores or whatever, like to brag, whatever.
Credit where credit is due.
But I graduated like the best of my class in like high school, and I graduated with honors in college. So I do think you really need to be really smart to be successful. I think you need to be very smart. Yeah.
Let's touch on, just to close out, the moments where you've inevitably had self-doubts. How have you empowered yourself, and how in turn can you empower others? Like, what tips can you share on instilling confidence in yourself, especially in the moments where you're not sure if you're going to get the job, or you're not entirely feeling confident as you normally would?
Yeah, so I think it was mostly in the early mid of my career that sometimes, I'll definitely feel down, and I'll feel like, oh, I don't know if I can really do this. And I don't know if it was specifically in that moment that I was feeling that, or eventually, I can't remember that well. But I would always constantly be looking for other model stories. So that's why I started my podcast. But I will constantly be looking for other model stories. And whenever I would hear this other model story say like, oh, it took me 5, 8, 7, 10 years to break into the industry. It took me X amount of time to finally land this job. It took me X amount of castings with the same brand to finally get a booking from them. That's when it clicked for me that these moments of rejection are just moments of rejection, and that's why I started my podcast, because I wanted other models that felt the same way as I felt like in other moments to listen to a full story of another model who has found success, that it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time, and there's so many specific struggles to specific people, and some people might be the age, other people might be acne, other people might be like their size of their body or the height or whatever. So after hearing so many stories, now I'm very confident, like, oh, like it's just about being patient and like hard work, but we can get that there. Yeah.
To close us out, I want to know what you want to be known for, and it might be a cliche question, but the reason I ask is because you saw an area of opportunity in an industry that you aspired to become part of. And you didn't take it as a no or kind of shutting the door on your dream. You took it as a welcome challenge, as I mentioned earlier. So through the content that you put out there, through the work that you accept, within the context of modeling and beauty and fashion, what do you want people to take away?
I want people, when they see me, that they think I made them feel good about themselves. That's like everything I do is around that. Like the modeling content, the beauty content, the fashion content. It's all about helping other people feel good about themselves.
I love that. Anything else you want to say before we close out?
No, I think we're good. I think it's, like I said many times throughout the podcast, it's about working hard and being patient. And at the end of the day, if you have talent and you put in the work, you can get where you want to get.
I love that. Amen to that. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so great.
I know, this was so fun. And thank you all for watching and listening. Catch you next time.